Okay, so what I went ahead and did with my flat brush is I carved out this area a little bit more into the nostril area, just to kind of really show you sort of how this area kind of builds out. Okay, so here's what we have, right? And what we can do at this point is, and again, we're just sort of working on the front and maybe a little bit of the profile, right? We're not looking to create a complete head, and we will in another tutorial. But we're kind of looking at sort of, again, at this point, building up or just kind of structuring the eye. So I'm just going to grab my inflate brush and just slowly kind of lightly tap in here and just continue to inflate out this area. I'm being very conscious that I want a nice curve. You know, I want to keep the face looking very smooth. It should almost look like this, like a guy's eyes closed. Okay, and just keep smoothing that out. You can feel free to flatten as well. You know, and take a look, and you know, the eyes are actually too far out. So I'm just going to click on the geo or hit W, and with my move tool just pull them back. They're way too forward at this point. So something like that. So with your eyes positioned correctly, so something about there, you can start to say, okay, so what am I supposed to do in this region, right? Like, well, remember what I taught you before. So let's look at the basics, okay? The eyebrow can almost form a unibrow here, right? But what it does is, it's almost on the side of the nose. So it comes up like this. And what you'll notice is it actually goes to the side of the head a little bit. And that's just this fall off here, right? And then the other thing is the brow is much larger. And again, you want to kind of, depending on how bushy the person's eyebrows are, let's just kind of create some nice little eyebrow hairs here. Then there's a layer of fat here, which is like, they call it the fighter's fat in boxing circles, because once you hit there, you can actually end a fight, because this is where you can get stitches, because there's a layer of fat here that's so close to bone. Right? And that sort of sits above the top eyelid. Now the top eyelid's highest point is actually right there. It peaks where that bone peaks. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to mask out the side of the nose, and then about here is where my pupil should, maybe a little higher, my pupil should be. So with my clay build-up tool, I'm just going to draw a nice little curve that comes down like this. A lot of people do the Egyptian eye when they're drawing, which looks like this. And what happens is your actual upper lid is sort of enveloping. And it kind of depends on ethnicity, but remember, we're going for generic here. So upper lid kind of going around down like this. I'm going to keep going. Maybe add a little bit more in the center here. And then I'm going to go in here and add a little bit of fat back in here. Hold shift and just sort of smooth that out. I don't want to get crazy here. So what I'm immediately going to do is grab my Damien stamp or standard and carve out this, and then give myself an accent line here. Okay. What I can do again later is inside of here, because we need a little bit of a, you know, we need to show the top of the lid here coming down. So that's where we'll do something like this, and just at the height or the front of it, because we want to get that nice area that sticks out. I'm going to just kind of keep adding fat there and then smoothing. Something like this. Yep. And once you've got that really accentuated, what I normally do is add a little bit more here. You know what, I'm going to go ahead and subdivide it again. Looks like I might already even hit my point, but lightly with my Damien, just kind of accentuate that, accentuate this, and then I'm holding Alt here, and I'm just going to draw in that pupil area. So let's take a look. He's kind of got big eyes, but that's okay. again, we're not really working from reference here. So let's do the same for the bottom. I'm not looking for the details just yet, just drawing in that eyelid, adding as much clay as I can. I'm going to smooth that out. I'm being careful not to blur that out too much because, again, remember what I told you. I grab my Damien Standard, throw a line in down here, and then underneath that line there. Okay? Now, same deal. Notice that it's looking a little flat from the side. So what I'm going to do is grab my clay buildup, really develop this area here, and more so in the middle. Smooth that out. Same thing in here. Throw that layer of fat across there. Throw a layer of fat across here. It's going to look great. Perfect. Damien Standard. Throw a cut down there. Nice cut going around here. Okay. Another thing that we oftentimes forget when we're kind of doing this is there's actually, remember I was talking about earlier, there's a cut that sort of identifies the face that sort of falls this way. And so it actually falls against the ridge of the nose and across that upper cheekbone that we developed earlier. So let's smooth that out. I'm going to have to lower the intensity of my Damien Standard just so we're not going nuts here. There we go. Just a nice cut like that. And again, that adds a lot of character. I mean, at this point, like I said, this is not something we'd really use in our demo reel, but you can actually go in here, and it looks very much like a Bern Hogarth or these other guys' generic head, but you can go in and sort of move this stuff around. Pull out these eyelids a little bit more. Make sure that your upper lid is very much so protruding over your lower lid. Something really nice like that. Your cheekbone, not too much. Pull this back. Make sure your upper lid is really going over your bottom. Remember what I told you before about, this little nodule in here? I wish I knew the names of all this stuff. It's sort of embarrassing to make a video on anatomy or this stuff without knowing all the names, but maybe the next one I'll do one like that. Alright. So the profile doesn't look bad. Front looks good. This could always use a little more work because we didn't spend a lot of time in 3/4, but overall, you get a pretty nice view. And if you want, like I was saying before, go in and just make sure that you're all those planes are there, and you can pretty much mask it out. And just for practice, grab your trim dynamics and just start lopping off sections of this. Flattening out this whole area. Flatten out this chin. And here. And you can start to really develop, chisel that jaw. Those planes. It looks like that. That left eye needs to be moved. Yeah, I should have used. There's a better tool. I forgot to mention it actually. I'll show it to you now. So my eyes are not perfectly symmetrical, so I'm going to go ahead and dump these guys. I'm going to show you a trick if I can remember it. So if I go in and I pen just a sphere to this guy. If I can do that. There we go. And I hit E for scale. Let's scale this. Oops, wrong guy. Let's scale this guy down. Alright, for the sake of argument, let's say that let's say this is perfect, right? We're completely happy with this eye placement right here, okay? And we want it, and our guy is completely symmetrical, which I think at this point he sort of is. There's actually a tool, I believe it's a Z plugin, and it's a transpose master. I might have to pause it and check. Subtool master, and you hit mirror, and then you can select the x-axis and it'll mirror it across, which is kind of neat. So that's kind of a neat trick. Alright, so we looked at the side view, which is really nice, and we looked at the front view. And overall this shape is garbage, but really we just wanted to sort of talk about how, you know, we sculpt like we draw, and now we have a really beautiful idea, not necessarily a face, but an idea of how this all fits together. So let's sort of in the next section we're going to take a look at putting all of these things that we learned together and looking at a real face.